In today's 6th episode of the Sports and Psychology podcast, we are diving deep into Draymond Green's career, and then in the third segment, hopping into how to work through anger as an individual and working with others dealing with anger issues. So if you're a coach, player, or sports enthusiast and you're interested in Draymond Green and his career, or wanting to learn how to work with your anger in a positive way, then you're right where you want to be. Hello, buenos dias, dobrý den, ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome to the Sports and Psychology podcast, the weekly Saturday morning pod where we talk all things athletes, tactics, and performance, and most importantly, mindset. I'm your host, letting them three balls fly, Cord Thomas. I'm a mindset coach specializing in sports psychology, performance, stress, and anxiety reduction, and mental preparation. Having helped hundreds of clients and tens of professional athletes exceed their potential, reach their goals, and lead fulfilling lives. After becoming a 2-time Taekwondo Junior Olympic medalist and moving from the US to Europe to study and play basketball, I found my passion in the psychology of success. Before we hop into things, do me a favor. Hit that follow button below the video or the pod to get updates on new episodes. And if you're here with me on YouTube, hit that like and comment button. Thank you for making the Sports and Psychology pod your first Saturday morning listen. If you want to reach out and connect with me or join in our mailbag episode, you can find me on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter, athlete mindset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Let's hop into things. First, in news and notes, I'd like to say congratulations for the first time on this podcast to the Colorado Avalanche. They won the 2022 Stanley Cup and raised it in their opening game against the Chicago Blackhawks at Ball Arena in Denver. Colorado had a great season last year winning the Stanley Cup, and it's just exciting to always see that ring night, the celebration, and seeing all those players back, even if they've retired some of them. I'm not aware that any would have retired from the Avalanche this year, but it's always an amazing event, and it's great that they won. I've seen far too many ring nights where the team has then gone on to lose their game. So fantastic that they won. Fantastic that they had a great event. Blink 182 was there singing all the small things, and the crowd of 18,143 people definitely did sing along and somehow has become the anthem of Ball Arena, according to NHL.com. So anyways, great to see them back in action. Great to see the NHL back in action. And I'm going to be excited to start mentioning NHL news here on the pod more often. Over to some soccer or European football news. I definitely want to give some credit to the Spurs, to Tottenham. They beat Frankfurt recently 3-2 to move up to the top of their Champions League group. In any case, the Korean takeover of the world isn't just in music. Son Heung-min and Harry Kane have combined with Tottenham to pretty much score most of their goals, and it's great to know that the Koreans have continued to expand and are doing great in football now as well. There are a lot of people in Korea and culturally are extremely motivated and hardworking. So Son Heung-min coming in and really putting his mark on the game and his mark on British football is just another step towards Korea culturally expanding in the world. And they're doing that well and successfully. It's great to see top level, completely elite athlete level of a Korean. Well on you, and keep it up. Son Heung-min. Over to a topic that is definitely closer to the topic of the week. Las Vegas Raiders in American football, Davante Adams was charged with a misdemeanor assault for shoving a photographer after leaving the field after they lost the game against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday. Now, with American football, oftentimes it seems more acceptable, the level of violence, the level of aggression, where people are going out of their way to be physical with others, show that anger, show that aggression in interactions with others. Now, that's their sport. They push people, they tackle people, they block people. But whoever the photographer was on the field, whatever he was doing, he definitely did not sign up to be pushed, shoved, what have you, by a professional athlete whose literal job it is to do that. So great on the topic of this week's news and notes, just in terms of yet another athlete letting things get out of hand. Lastly, in news and notes, a couple weeks ago it surfaced that, or maybe this week actually, that Draymond Green punched his teammate Jordan Poole in the face during practice, and the video was leaked. Now, the fact that the video was leaked by someone in the organization is an issue in and of itself. There are comments and, people like Coach Steve Kerr saying that this has happened hundreds of times in NBA history, that it's normal that it happens at least every year that someone gets punched because these things happen and they're professional aggressive athletes. I appreciate you, Steve Kerr. You're one of the best. Not good enough. It's not okay to be going around sucker punching or getting into physical fist fights with your teammates, with other people, airing your frustrations because you don't know how to communicate or don't know what you're feeling. Not good enough. That being said, Draymond Green didn't get suspended at all, which is fine. He got fined. Okay, fine. Great example we're now setting to all of those young people who idolize the Golden State Warriors as the best NBA team there is. Draymond Green as someone working from the bottom up. We're now saying it's okay to be physical. I'm not a fan. He didn't get suspended. He got fined. He will be playing probably opening night. And what? And so it goes unpunished, more or less. They're dealing with it internally. He apologizes in front of the team. Let it go. Move on. Professional athletes, this happens. That's why we're discussing it today on the pod. We're going to talk athletes and aggression. I love it. It's a very interesting topic. We're wanting people to get hyped, to be aggressive, to show they're motivated, and really, oftentimes in US sports especially, we're talking about war, we're talking about fighting the opponent. We go in to win, which means to hurt the opponent. Sports should be better than that. Sports, basketball especially, which is mostly a non-contact sport, should be definitely further along the lines of we're out here to compete and prove who's physically best, not to hurt someone. And so if you punch someone in the face, especially if you've sucker punched someone who's not expecting it, they crumple to the ground, not okay. So we're going to hop into that and dealing with aggression maybe in more of a positive way. Before that, in the second segment, we are going to hop into a deep dive of Draymond Green, his history, and why maybe some of this is happening. I'm not a big fan of analyzing from a distance, but there are definitely factors that would explain a tendency towards dealing with anger in this way from childhood, from youth. So we are going to hop into that in the second segment, and stick with me. We will be right back. It is time to talk about this podcast. We've been through topics such as off-season goal setting, getting out of your head and micro goals, why players move back to Europe and choose where they want to play, integrating new teammates, going game speed and how to approach improving your skills, and now Draymond Green and dealing with aggression. So go back and give the previous episodes a listen. I am here every week giving you premium content for free, and I appreciate you, dear listener. So if you appreciate what I'm putting out here, if you've enjoyed the pods, definitely go back and make sure you've listened to all of them, and then tell a friend, tell a teammate, tell a fellow athlete, tell someone about the pod, because that is the best way to get this pod out there and help it grow so that more people can get in touch with the psychology side of sports and improve their game today. We are back and hopping into the second segment. Now, Here in the second segment, we are going to jump into the life of Draymond Green and some of his history and why there is a tendency towards violence, towards aggression, and not knowing how to express things in a positive way. Draymond is the son of Mary Babers and Wallace Davis. You'll notice the difference in last name. His stepfather is Raymond Green, and Draymond has 2 brothers and 3 sisters, one of the brothers played basketball for Nebraska Omaha from 2009 to 2011. Draymond has a son and a daughter, one with a previous girlfriend, his son, and now his daughter is with his current wife, actress Hazel Renee. Draymond was born in Saginaw, Michigan, a city with a combined population of 377,000 people. The city by itself had a population of 44,000 in 2020. Major history of industry and lumber especially, and then Michigan in general being kind of that automobile industry area of the US. Definitely plenty of factory workers. This definitely has an effect on the city as such, with less than 40% of the people in the consensus identifying as Caucasian. There's over 50% or just under 50% now identifying as African American, and then about 15% Hispanic, giving racial minorities quite a large majority in the city, being around 65-70%. That being said, it gives us an idea of where Draymond grew up: rough, industrial America. An area where you fight for everything you have. Money does not grow on trees. This is not suburbia. It is downtown, hard workers everywhere, with a split family, with growing up with a stepdad instead of his father. Draymond went to Saginaw High and then played basketball at Michigan State University. Did even practice with the American football team, so there is history there. Got his bachelor's degree in communications in 2012 from Michigan State University. Draymond then was drafted with the 35th overall pick in the 2012 NBA draft by the Golden State Warriors. And ended up signing a 3-year, $2.6 million contract. 3 years, $2.6 million. NBA veterans minimum is about that much for 1 year today. So he really was not expected to be a high-level player coming in. And in his freshman year, basically didn't play. In his rookie year, basically didn't play. Then after his rookie year, he really put in the work. Someone got to him. He lost 20 pounds and came into his sophomore year looking a lot better, shooting the ball a lot better, and proving himself a valuable part of the team. Since then, he has won a championship in 14-15, was an All-Star and All-NBA in 15-16, second NBA championship and Defensive Player of the Year award in 16-17, another championship 17-18, fifth straight NBA Finals 18-19, and now a fourth NBA championship and fourth All-Star in 2021-22. He also plays for the U.S. national team, or played for the U.S. national team in 2016. He was then selected to the 2020 Olympic team to compete in Tokyo, where he helped Team USA win a gold medal. He's a great player, he's a great defender, and a great communicator on the court. Why? A great leader, a great communicator. Why is someone like this having aggression issues? Something I didn't mention from his personal life. On July 10th, 2016, Green was arrested for assault in East Lansing, Michigan, where the night before he got into a fight with Michigan State defensive back Jermaine Edmondson. Defensive back. The arresting report says that Green went to Rick's bar, bumped into Edmondson After a verbal exchange, two friends of Green supposedly choked Edmondson and his girlfriend. The next night, both Green and Edmondson attended Conrad's Grill in East Lansing, where Edmondson confronted Green about the incident the night before. Then Green allegedly poked Edmondson in the chest and either slapped or punched him in the face. The arresting officers stated that Green had a blood alcohol level of 0.10 and admitted to slapping Edmondson and asked to apologize to the victim. After posting a $200 bail, Green was released 4 hours after the arrest. There's a history here of violence, at least, let's say it again, at least with other high-level elite athletes. This would be worse and is worse when professional athletes aim this at women, at children, at people who, I don't want to say that all professional athletes can defend themselves, but at least there's a similar physical ability, kind of, maybe. It's not great either way, let's be honest. All right, in the third segment, I will be back and I will be diving into what we do with athletes and aggression. Stick with me. It is time for me to talk about my services. One of my favorite topics with clients is career pathing, visioning, planning, and building motivation and drive towards success. I have quite a few clients that come and either are not sure what they will do after their sport, how to reach their goals to play in one of the top leagues in the world, or I also have plenty of non-athlete clients who are stuck or unhappy career-wise in life and looking for help on finding something that would be fulfilling. I love building personality profiles with clients, helping them to get to know themselves and a vision of their future selves together, and finding what it is that lights a fire behind someone's eyes. I've helped hundreds of clients creatively come up with a plan that makes them excited to wake up in the morning and work towards their goals. If this sounds like something that you need, then reach out now. Send me a few sentences on what you're struggling with and I'll tell you directly whether or not we would be a good match. And if not, I'll do my best to recommend someone who would. I work with athletes 15 years of age and older and all other clients from 17 plus, and each session is only $60 at the moment. I work on individual needs and all of my sessions are completely personalized to your needs, whether that's online or in person. So take a look at booking a session directly at coachingpraha.com/bookonline or reach out to me on Instagram at athlete.m1ndset, Twitter athlete_m1ndset, or email me at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Sports and Psychology Podcast. In the second segment, we talked Draymond Green. We deep dove into his history, into who he is, and into some of the things that has created the athlete, the talent, the aggressive individual that is Draymond Green. Here in segment 3, we're going to talk about how to deal with aggression in athletes and where maybe some of this aggression comes with Draymond. Something I love when it comes to working with aggression in athletes is dealing with what is under that anger. We all know a few basic emotions: happiness, anger, fear, frustration, boredom. It's all top level. Anxiety even, maybe top level. Things that are usually a representation of something else that we're feeling deeper. So when it comes to athletes and aggression, first of all, what we're going to do is start to look behind the curtain. We're going to start to recognize, to learn what it is they're feeling behind the anger, what is causing the anger. Usually, they're feelings of fear, feelings of being hurt, feelings of being in a position of not being able to do something or do anything about the situation, feelings of inferiority, feelings of being attacked and needing to defend themselves, feelings of being put down, a lack of love, a lack of respect. These are all things that I don't feel respected and therefore you get punched in the face. I don't feel my due amount of positive feedback from someone, and so I push them. I get insulted by someone and somehow it triggers something in me, and therefore I punch them. There's always hurt, fear, or a feeling of helplessness before there is anger and aggression. So one of the first things we're going to be looking at is, what am I feeling? Do I have words for what I'm feeling? And can I define it? As soon as something that's great about emotions is that as soon as we define them, they feel this big. And as soon as we put a word to it, they're right back in their space. It hurts. We feel it. I'm not saying we don't. But there's a difference between feeling something this much and feeling something this much because we don't know what it is. So being able to put words to it, super, super helpful. Obviously, when talking about aggression, we're usually going to go back to people in our lives who have used aggression on us to deal with issues or used aggression on people we love to deal with issues. I gave you Draymond Green's background, mostly because there's probably a lot of physical violence in his past. I don't know it for sure. I haven't heard any interviews where he would have talked about it, but seeing physical violence and seeing people deal with their anger in that way is something that would lead us to be much more likely to do that in our own lives and see that as acceptable. At the same time, if I have someone who has that in their past and has a tendency towards it, I've never once had a client who said, I have physical violence in my past and I want to continue on with that trend. That's something that I think is correct, and it is completely okay to punch someone in the face. No one will say that. We as humans know that that's not right, that that's not something we want and not something that's okay. So why do we go back to it? Well, part of the human experience is we learn things by watching others, and when we don't know what we want instead of that aggression, instead of that violence, we go back to what we know. And if what we know is violence, then we're going back to it. So I know it's something I don't want, but if I haven't set what I want instead, I'm returning back to using that violence. So really important is to set how we want to act in situations where we are hurt, where we are in pain, where we feel like we don't have any power, where we feel insulted. How do I want to act in those situations? What are the steps I take to make sure that I'm acting in accordance with my values, in accordance with who I want to be instead of who I have been in the past? Obviously, anytime drugs or alcohol are involved, that's going to put us a step back and a lot closer to acting on our automatic tendencies. Lastly here, it's definitely worthwhile to look at trauma. Look at things that has happened in someone's life and maybe why their capacity for stress, for pain is smaller than it should be. I like to talk about this with clients in terms of a bucket. We all have our bucket and each drop fills it up. When it comes to trauma, we have something poured in, and until we've worked through it with someone, that level stays there. And so we are so much closer to exploding, to being put over the edge than someone who has worked through their traumas with a therapist, with someone who knows what they're doing. And as soon as we deal with some of those things, then we can lower that overall level of patience, of being able to deal with things, stress levels, anxiety levels. When it comes to aggression, oftentimes people talk about control. I haven't said that word once for a reason. Oftentimes, to me, it's not necessarily a loss of control. It's a lack of knowing what we want. But say we have lost control and we are acting out of character, or we have a tendency to act out of character. Something that is always a great recommendation is to go back, take a few steps away, leave the situation, and be okay with leaving. It's better for me to leave than to act out of character. It's better for me to take a deep breath, relax myself, count to 10, think about what I want to say. Even to say, I'm going to respond to this tomorrow because right now I'm not in my right mind, than to respond now in a way that wouldn't be acceptable to me, myself. Who cares if things are not acceptable to others? The most important thing, what is acceptable to me? Now, if you're here saying, but it's acceptable to punch people, I think that's a point where we need to look at what is okay and what isn't, and ask if our moral compass is set correctly. People don't need to be punched to understand what's in your head. Lastly, here I want to cover communication. Oftentimes, someone who is being aggressive with others feel either that they're not being heard, that they're being misunderstood, or they don't have the ability to communicate what it is they're thinking and feeling with others. Working on how do I take my world that's up in my brain and express it to others in a way that I'm happy with is a really important skill and can be worked on. So with my clients who do have aggression issues, we are always going back to how do I communicate things in a way that I feel happy with it. And then if people don't take it, if they don't understand it, how can I explain it again? Where is the plan B? Where's the plan C? I want to communicate things, first of all, with my voice than wanting to communicate things with my fists. And those communications, in an ideal scenario, especially if we're talking about conflicts, are done in a one-on-one situation. We want to do it one-on-one. Then we might pull in a manager, go 2-on-1, and then if it's still not getting through to that person, we might call a team meeting. These tactics of when and how to communicate, 1-on-1, 2-on-1 team, goes all the way back to the Bible. That's how old it is. And as humans, we still haven't learned to do this. So if you have a problem with someone, pull them aside, tell them what you're thinking, express it with words, and give them space to think about it, to react to it, to come back to you with their response. And if you still don't see the change that you're looking for, then bring in your manager, bring in the coach, bring in someone else, and go at it systematically. And you will eventually get the results you're looking for. Yeah, punching someone in the face might wake them up. It also might definitely turn them against you and do exactly the opposite of what you were hoping that it would do. So let's use aggression differently. Let's think a little bit. Let's get to know what our emotions are, deeper than just I'm angry, deeper than just I'm frustrated, deeper than just I'm scared. What is behind it? And when we look at what's behind it, we're going to find things that are A, much more interesting, B, have nothing to do oftentimes with that other person. It's going to do with how I'm feeling, and that's why I have that anger. So take a look at these things. And if you're someone who feels like you're dealing with aggression, please reach out to a professional like me and let's work through it. There's no reason why you can't change as a person and why your history and what you've been through and experienced has to continue affecting how you act today. I hope that you've had a great time listening and working through how to deal with aggression with me here on the Sports and Psychology podcast. If you have other ideas, comments, or just completely disagree with me, make sure you send me an email at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com and I will definitely respond. I think it's awesome to know that being aggressive, having physical violence in our past doesn't mean that it needs to be something that affects us throughout our lives and into the future. And more importantly, doesn't affect our kids. That's probably the most important thing. So, thank you for listening or watching here on YouTube to the Sports and Psychology podcast. Please tell your friends if you like the pod. I am streaming every Saturday morning everywhere you can find podcasts as well as on YouTube. If you want to get your questions into a mailbag or give me your thoughts, give me a comment below on YouTube or reach out on Instagram at athlete.m1ndsct, Twitter Athlete Mindset, or email at sportsandpsychologypod@gmail.com. Do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button and make sure that you leave that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And remember, anger, frustration, fear, they're all top-level emotions. Go deeper. Ask what is behind it. Why am I feeling this? And you're going to find a lot more interesting emotions and get to know a lot more about yourself. And if we can define it, if we can put words to it, we'll be able to explain it to others a whole lot better and have much more positive conversations towards reaching a positive conclusion for everyone. And in the words of Jabari Walker, don't let today get the best of you. Get the best of today. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk next week.